On the night in which he was betrayed, that is to say, the night before he was killed, the night when his friends gave him up, gave him over to their greed and their fear, which they regretted almost immediately, but even almost immediately turned out to be already too late. On that night, he sat around the dinner table with his friends. Things were dicey, even if no one said it out loud. Some of them couldn't sleep, and some of them slept all the time, and all of their thinking felt fuzzy. The men in charge, in other, more important places, couldn't get their stories straight. The body count kept rising. No one knew what would happen in the end, but it was clear that things would get much worse before they even began to get better. On that night, the meal was plain and simple and confusing even. Most of the usual stuff was all out at the grocery store, and anyway, the Instacart delivery wouldn't arrive for another 3 days. On that night, he took those pre-packaged sandwich crackers, the bright orange kind with peanut butter in the middle, and he gave thanks. And he shared them around the table, and he said, "Take and eat. This is my body, given for you, to remind you that nourishment takes on so many forms, to remind you that nourishment will look differently now, for a while, maybe even for forever. But this body is enough, and you are enough, and we are enough. Eat these together, and remember me." In the same way, after that strange supper, he took cranberry juice cocktail. The wine had run out days before, and anyway, this was the same color with added vitamin C. He poured it into champagne flutes and water bottles and shot glasses and sippy cups, and he gave thanks. He said, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, poured out for you and for all people." Listen up, for all people, for the forgiveness of sins. This cup is poured out to remind you to look for community in new and unexpected ways, to remind you to be community for others in new and unexpected ways, because this cup is enough, and you are enough, and we are enough. Drink this together and remember me. And they did. That strange and confusing meal was all they had, but that night it was enough. And they were scared, whether they said it out loud or not, but they were together in one way or another, and that was enough. And together, that night, they were enough.